I thought I would recognize a scam if it ever called me. I had read every article. I had warned my sister. I had warned my bridge club. I had warned my own children. Then a man called my house on a Wednesday morning in October, and 51 minutes later, the savings I had built across 38 years of teaching were sitting in an account on the other side of the world. The woman who knew better than anyone how these scams worked was me. My name is Ruth Patterson. I am 74 years old. I taught middle school English in a public school district in upstate New York for 38 years. I retired in the spring of 2015. I have 2 grown children, a son named David in California and a daughter named Margaret in North Carolina. I was divorced in 1995 and I never remarried. I live alone in the same colonial house I bought in 1981 with the help of a small loan from my father. My ex-husband and I separated when our children were teenagers. The reasons are not relevant here. We divided what we had. He moved to Florida in 1998. He died of a heart attack in 2011. We had not spoken in 9 years when he passed. After the divorce, I built my life around 3 things. I built it around teaching. I built it around the routines that make a single woman's house feel like her own. I built it around the savings account I had opened in my name on the day the divorce was finalized. I taught 7th and 8th grade language arts. 3,560 children sat in my classroom over those 38 years. I learned every one of their names. I keep the yearbooks in the bookcase next to the fireplace. They are organized by year in chronological order. I dust them every other Saturday. I know that I am telling you this for a reason. I am telling you because I want you to understand the kind of person who picked up the phone on a Wednesday morning in October. I was not careless. I was not lonely. I was not confused. I had read about exactly this scam in the AARP magazine in March, and again on the New York Times website in July, and once more in the local paper in September. I had cut out the September article and put it on the refrigerator with a magnet. The article was still on the refrigerator the morning the call came. I will tell you something my mother used to say. She used to say that the smartest people fall the hardest. I never believed her. I thought she was the kind of person who said things like that to make herself feel better about her own mistakes. She was right. I was wrong. The first thing that happened was an email. It came at 6:15 in the morning before I was awake. The subject line said, "Account security notification, action required." The sender was the bank I had used for 40 years. The logo at the top of the email matched the logo on my debit card. The fonts matched. The colors matched. The email said the bank had detected suspicious activity on my checking account at 3:12 in the morning. It said that the activity had been blocked and that no money had moved, but that I needed to verify my identity to release the temporary hold the system had placed on the account. The email gave a phone number to call. The phone number was a 1-800 number that began with the same 3 digits as the number on the back of my actual debit card. The email contained, halfway down, a sentence that I want you to remember. The sentence said, "We have confirmed your last login was on Tuesday, October 12th at 4:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from a Safari browser on a MacBook Pro." That sentence was correct. I had logged into my online banking on Tuesday afternoon at 4:47 p.m. from a MacBook Pro using Safari. I want you to know what I did before I called the number. I am a teacher. I do not act on emails. I read it twice. I checked the sender's email address against the address my bank had sent statements from for years. The domain matched. I checked for spelling errors in the body. There were none. I checked the formatting. It was identical to the formatting of every other email the bank had ever sent me. The image at the top of the email had a small icon of a padlock that turned green when I clicked on it. I checked the link in the email. I did not click it. I hovered over it with the mouse to see where it actually went. The address it pointed to was a long URL that included the bank's domain name in it. It looked legitimate. It was not legitimate. I learned later that this was a technique called subdomain spoofing. I did not know that word. I do not know if I would have noticed if I had. When I read that sentence, sitting in my kitchen with my first cup of tea, my doubt went away. Whatever doubt I had at the top of the email about whether this was real, that sentence answered. The bank knew when I had logged in. The bank knew what device I had used. The bank had to be the bank, because how else would they know that? I learned later from the federal investigators that there had been a data breach at the bank in August of the previous year. Login records for 240,000 customers had been stolen. Names, account numbers, login times, devices. The breach had not been disclosed publicly. The records had been sold 3 times before they reached the people who called me. I called the number in the email at 7:45 in the morning. The man who answered identified himself as Anthony Sutton from the bank's account security team. He asked me to verify the last 4 digits of my debit card. I gave them. He asked me to verify my zip code. I gave it. He asked me to verify the email address on file. I gave it. He confirmed everything was correct. He thanked me for calling promptly. He said that the system had picked up an attempted login from a device in Florida in the early hours of the morning, that the attempt had been blocked, and that there was no immediate cause for concern, but that there were a few protective steps we needed to take. I will tell you very specifically what was going through my head as I picked up the pen. I was thinking about a former student named Jonathan Kessler, who had been in my 8th grade class in 1991. Jonathan had a habit of asking at the end of every essay assignment whether I had documentation supporting my grade. He grew up to be a tax attorney. He sent me a Christmas card every year for 24 years. The reason I was thinking about Jonathan is that I had spent 38 years teaching middle school students that the way you protect yourself in any official situation is to take notes, write down names, ask for case numbers, request documentation. The man on the phone had given me, before I even asked, a case number and an employee ID. I noted both. I had a piece of paper and a pen in front of me. I wrote down the case number. I wrote down his employee ID. I wrote down the time of the call. I had been a teacher for 38 years. I knew how to take notes. I will tell you something else now. I want to tell you exactly what made this call work, because the thing that made it work was not what I expected. The man on the phone, very early in the call, said something that disarmed me completely. He said, "Ms. Patterson, I want to tell you something. The reason you are speaking with me today and not somebody else is that the system flagged your account as a low-risk customer. Low-risk customers are routed to senior agents." He said this with a small laugh, the kind of laugh a doctor uses when he is about to deliver good news. He said it was because I had been a customer for 40 years. He said it was because I had never had a fraud incident before. He said it was because my login patterns were what he called textbook. He said the bank prioritized customers like me because they were the customers who had something to protect, and because they were the customers who could keep their head during a security event. He told me in that opening that I was the smart one. I did not realize until much later that he had read my own self-image back to me, exactly the way it lived in my head in the first 3 minutes of the call. After that, he could have told me anything, and I would have written it down on my piece of paper. He told me there was a protocol. He called it a customer-initiated migration. He said it was used in cases where the bank systems had flagged a potential vulnerability and the customer needed to move funds into a temporary protected account, in their own name, for the duration of the security review. He said it usually took between 24 and 48 hours. He said when I would receive a confirmation letter in the mail with the case number and a phone number to verify the recovery. I asked him several questions. I am proud of the questions I asked. They were good questions. I asked him for his supervisor's name and a callback number. He gave them. I asked him whether the protected account would be FDIC insured. He said yes, and gave me the relevant policy reference. I asked him whether I could call the branch where I had opened my account in 1985 to verify. He said yes, of course, and provided the branch's number, which matched the one I had in my own address book. I learned later, after the police came, that everything he had given me was wrong. The supervisor's name was a fiction. The callback number went to a different woman in the same room. The branch number had been forwarded that morning by the same operation that had forwarded the bank's main line. None of it was real. All of it sounded real. The bank, in the version of the call I was part of, was a building that the man on the phone was inside. He transferred me to his supervisor. Her name was Linda Park. Her voice was clear and slightly maternal. She told me she was glad I had called in promptly. She told me she had been with the bank for 19 years. She told me she had taught Sunday school in her parish in Connecticut for 12. She mentioned this as an aside, the way you mention things to a stranger to find common ground. I am a Methodist. I have taught Sunday school. I noted it without thinking. She walked me through the migration. She told me what to do. I want to tell you what made the call work, because the way they did this was not what you might think. They did not pressure me. They did not rush me. They were patient. Linda Park in particular slowed the call down at every point I might have hesitated. She gave me time to think. She invited me to ask questions. She used the word verify a great deal. She said the bank wanted me to verify everything. She said it was the bank's responsibility to make me comfortable. This was the trick. The articles I had read had warned me about the urgent caller, the one who shouts that the IRS is coming, the one who says you have 10 minutes to respond before the police arrive. Linda Park was the opposite of that caller. She had all the time in the world. She wanted me to take all the time in the world. The slow patience of her voice, the careful way she walked me through every step, the moments she paused to let me process, all of it told me that she was real. She had me open my online banking on the MacBook Pro at the kitchen table. She had me confirm the routing number for the protected account she gave me. She had me set up the transfer. She told me to enter exactly $74,500 on the first transfer, because that was the threshold below the system's automatic verification window. She said we would do 4 transfers from the savings account and 1 from the money market account, and that the entire process should take about 45 minutes. I sent the first transfer. I will tell you something. There was a moment when I clicked the confirm button on that first transfer when something inside me said no. Not loudly, not even an alarm, just a small voice, the kind of voice that tells you to bring an umbrella when the forecast says clear. I ignored it. I ignored it because Linda Park was telling me that I was doing well. I ignored it because the click had already happened. I ignored it because the woman on the phone had told me I was the kind of customer who could keep her head, and I was determined to keep my head. If you are listening to this, please understand something. The voice that says no is the only thing standing between you and what happened to me. The voice that says no does not need to be loud. It does not need to be sure. It only needs to be listened to. I sent the second transfer. I sent the third. I sent the fourth. The fifth was from the money market account. The total was $215,400. The savings I had built from my teacher's pension contributions and from a small inheritance from my mother in 2008 and from 40 years of choosing the cheapest seat on every airplane I had ever boarded. When the last transfer cleared, Linda Park thanked me. She told me the migration was complete. She told me the funds were secure. She told me to leave the accounts alone for the next 48 hours because the security review would generate small ledger entries that could look unusual but were normal. She gave me a callback number for any questions. She wished me a wonderful Wednesday. She hung up. I closed the laptop. I poured another cup of tea. I sat at the kitchen table for a while. I went to the bookcase next to the fireplace and I took down the yearbook from 1992 because I had been thinking, that morning before the call, about a particular student from that year. I sat in my chair by the window and I looked at her 7th grade picture. I drank my tea. I did not check my email. I did not check my account. I did exactly what Linda Park had told me to do. Wednesday afternoon I went to the grocery store. Thursday morning I had lunch with a friend. Thursday afternoon I read for 2 hours. Thursday evening I ate leftover soup. Friday morning I went to the library. Friday afternoon, I balanced my checkbook. Saturday, I cleaned the upstairs. Sunday, I went to church. On Monday morning, October 20th, at 8 in the morning, I sat down at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, and I opened the bank's website to print my statement, the way I had done on the second Monday of every month since 1987. The savings account showed a balance of $342. The money market account showed a balance of $0. I would like to tell you that I screamed. I would like to tell you that I knew in the first 5 seconds what had happened. I did not. I sat at the table with the screen in front of me, and I tried, calmly, the way I would have helped a confused student work through a math problem, to figure out what was wrong with the page I was looking at. I refreshed it. The numbers stayed the same. I went into the transaction history. I saw 5 transfers from Wednesday morning, all to an account number I did not recognize. I saw the timestamps. I saw the amounts. I saw my own name listed as the originator on every one of them. I closed the laptop. I opened it again. I logged out and logged back in. I refreshed the page. The numbers stayed the same. I went and got my reading glasses from the bedroom, even though I was already wearing them. I came back. I looked again. I sat at the table for a long time. I did not cry. I did not move. I looked at the article still hanging on the refrigerator from September, the one I had cut out and saved, the one whose first paragraph began with a sentence about how the targets of these scams were almost always women over the age of 70 living alone. If you are watching this, please listen to the rest of what I am going to say. I am asking you to subscribe and to leave a comment, not because I want subscribers, but because I want this video to be shown to the next person who is sitting at her own kitchen table on a Wednesday morning when the phone rings. The way these things spread is one comment, one share, one recommendation at a time. There is somebody you know right now who is going to receive this call. The only thing that helps is that they have heard my voice first. I called my son David in California first. He flew in on Tuesday. He stayed for a week. We made every report: the police, the federal authorities, the state attorney general, the bank's fraud unit. The bank classified the transfers as authorized customer transactions. They had been made by me, on my own device, using my own credentials, while I was on the phone with someone who was not them. The bank's fraud insurance returned $29,000 to me. The federal authorities told me 2 months later that the trail had ended in 3 different jurisdictions and that recovery was not realistic. They were polite about it. They had said the same words to many people before. I will tell you what I have lost. I have lost the savings I had built across 38 years. That is the obvious thing. The harder thing is that I have lost the picture I had of myself. I had thought of myself as careful. I had thought of myself as informed. I had thought of myself as the person in my circle of friends who knew about these things, who warned the others, who was not the one this happened to. I am not that person. I never was that person. I had been telling myself a story about the kind of person I was, and the story was wrong, and a man on a phone in a foreign country was able to read the story and use it against me in 51 minutes on a Wednesday morning. David stayed for a week. He helped me change every password. He helped me cancel every recurring payment that needed updating. He helped me draft a letter to send to my bridge club, which I did not send. He sat with me at the kitchen table and he asked me, more than once, whether I was all right. I told him I was. I was not. He knew. He stayed anyway. When David flew back to California, I sat in the house alone for the first time since the call had come in. The silence in the house had a different quality than it had ever had before. I had not noticed, in any of the years since the divorce, how full the house had felt with me in it. After David left, the house felt empty in a way that the savings account had also become empty. The 2 emptinesses sat in the rooms with me through November and December. I went back to teaching in January. I substitute teach now, 2 days a week, at a middle school 3 towns away. The current teachers are kind to me. The students are well behaved. I make $170 a day before taxes. It is enough to keep the heat on. It is enough to keep the house. It is not enough to ever rebuild what I had. I am 74 years old. I do not have 38 years to do it again. I told my bridge club 2 months after it happened. I had been avoiding it. I had been canceling on Tuesday afternoons. The week I finally told them was the week one of them, a woman named Eleanor, mentioned that she had received an email about her account on Monday morning. Eleanor is 77. Eleanor lives alone. I told the four of them what had happened to me, the whole thing, in order, with the case numbers and the names and the protocol and the migration and Linda Park and Anthony Sutton and the article on the refrigerator. When I was done, Eleanor put her hand on my hand and she said thank you. She said she had almost called the number that morning. She said she would not call it now. She said the only reason she would not call was that I had told her my story. That is the only reason I am sitting here. That is the only reason I am telling you any of this. The thing that helps the next person is somebody else's voice in their head when the phone rings. So I am giving you my voice. I am Ruth Patterson. I taught 7th and 8th grade English for 38 years. I had read every article. I knew everything. I lost everything. If a man calls you, or a woman, and says they are from your bank, and asks you to move your money to keep it safe, the answer is no. Hang up. Wait. Walk into a branch. Talk to a person whose face you can see. A bank will never call you and ask you to move money. They will never. If somebody calls you and says they are, the only thing they are is somebody who is about to take everything you have ever earned on a Wednesday morning in 51 minutes while you sit at your kitchen table believing you are the smart one. Please share this. Please call somebody you love. Please tell them my name. Thank you for listening.